Turning 70 feels like stepping into a chapter one never expected to arrive so quickly. Life moves fast. One day, you're in your 20s, brimming with energy and endless dreams. Then, seemingly overnight, you wake up to a body that surprises you in new ways every morning. These changes have taught me a lot about life, and one revelation has been unexpected. I've started keeping my distance from people. Let me share what led me to this realization. A surprising factor is the emotional toll of watching the world change. Friends move away, loved ones pass on, and the once familiar rhythm of life grows unfamiliar. It's not just physical aging, it's the realization that nothing stays the same. That awareness can make reaching out feel heavier than it used to. Then there's the matter of energy. Aging shifts your capacity for enduring busy schedules and crowded spaces. What once felt exciting now seems exhausting. I find myself retreating not out of fear or bitterness, but because peace feels like the most valuable gift I can give myself. Still, this isn't a withdrawal from life. It's more like a recalibration. I focus on what truly matters to me, whether that's a heartfelt conversation with an old friend, a quiet walk in nature, or simply reflecting on where I've been and where I'm going. This change has allowed me to appreciate the richness of smaller moments. Over time, I've learned not to feel guilty about this shift. It's not about abandoning anyone. It's about honoring the person I've become. I see it as growing into a phase of life where depth outweighs breadth. Interestingly, this change has also brought new perspectives. I've begun to see relationships in a new light, recognizing who truly adds value to my life and whose presence feels more like an obligation. It's not an easy process, but it's liberating in its own way. This journey of self-discovery at 70 is still unfolding. While I sometimes miss the liveliness of my younger days, I wouldn't trade the wisdom I've gained for anything. Life may look quieter now, but it feels richer in ways I never anticipated. Aging doesn't mean stepping away from life. It means stepping into a version of it that aligns more closely with who you are today. Now, I'll mention 7 harsh tips for old people like me. Number 1, time feels more precious. Reaching 70 changes how we see time. It stops being just a series of hours and becomes a constant reminder of life's limits. Looking back, we notice how often time was treated carelessly, spent on trivial pursuits, meaningless chatter, and fleeting connections. Now each passing second feels sacred, urging us to value what truly matters. Time has become more than a measure. It's a companion that walks beside us. Early mornings feel serene, as the first sip of coffee warms not just our hands, but our hearts. Afternoon strolls carry a quiet peace, each step grounding us in the present. Evenings offer gentle moments of reflection, where memories feel alive and gratitude lingers. We no longer fill our days for the sake of being busy. Instead, we seek depth and purpose. The hustle of youth loses its charm, replaced by the joy of intentional living. Small, meaningful exchanges and authentic relationships bring fulfillment that no packed schedule ever could. Guarding our time feels essential. The noise of unnecessary conflicts and shallow interactions fades into irrelevance. Instead, we turn toward the things that energize us, our passions, our well-being, and the people who make life brighter. Declining invitations becomes easier when solitude offers peace, and we no longer apologize for prioritizing ourselves. With age comes the wisdom of release. We let go of the weight of the past, forgiving ourselves and others. Regrets dissolve as we focus on what we can still create. The need to achieve fades, replaced by the beauty of simply being. Life slows, but in slowing down it becomes richer. The joy of small moments grows immense. A familiar melody, the golden glow of sunlight, or the sound of a loved one's laughter feels like a gift. Each breath, each heartbeat, reminds us of the present's wonder. I'll give you some suggestions you can practice every day to keep in mind. Keep a journal for reflection. Take a few minutes each evening to write down one small moment that stood out during your day. It could be a kind gesture, a beautiful scene you noticed, or something that made you smile. By recording these moments, you'll train yourself to notice and appreciate the little joys that often go overlooked. Over time, these reflections can become a source of inspiration and gratitude. Establish a quiet evening ritual. Dedicate time before bed to unwind and center yourself. Read a few pages of a book, meditate, or simply sit in stillness while listening to soft music. Let this time be free of screens or distractions. A calm evening routine not only helps you relax, but also prepares your mind to rest peacefully, reinforcing the importance of self-care at the end of each day. Take time to look at the sky. Pause during your day to gaze at the sky. Whether it's watching the vibrant colors of a sunset, admiring the clouds drifting by, or marveling at the stars at night, these moments connect you to something greater. They remind you of the beauty and vastness of the world, helping you feel both grounded and inspired by the simplicity of nature's wonders. Give genuine compliments. Throughout your day, make it a habit to share kind words with others. Compliment someone on their effort, their style, or something unique about them. These small acts of kindness don't just brighten someone else's day. They also create a sense of connection and positivity that you'll carry with you. A sincere compliment can turn an ordinary moment into something meaningful. Celebrate small wins. At the end of each day, take a moment to recognize something you accomplished, no matter how small. It might be finishing a task, learning something new, or simply taking care of yourself. Acknowledging these achievements fosters a sense of progress and gratitude. It reminds you that even the smallest steps forward deserve celebration, turning everyday efforts into reasons to feel fulfilled. Time no longer presses with urgency, it whispers with meaning. We don't count what remains but cherish the now, knowing each moment is a chance to live fully. The value of time isn't in how much we have, but in how deeply we embrace it. Number 2, the evolution of relationships over time. Relationships don't remain static. They evolve as we move through life. At 70, I've learned to embrace the ebb and flow of connections. Some bonds deepen, while others naturally fade. I no longer expect every relationship to last forever, and that acceptance has brought me a sense of calm. Now, those who share my journey are the ones who genuinely enrich my life. In my youth, I put energy into sustaining every relationship, only to find that holding on to unreciprocated connections could be exhausting. Life has a way of shifting our circles. People relocate, priorities change, and sometimes paths diverge. I used to feel the sting of loss keenly, but now I see it differently. Relationships often serve a purpose, reflecting the stage we are in. When they end, it's not always a failure, but a sign that their role in my life has run its course. This understanding has replaced sadness with gratitude. I have a friend, Mark, who was a constant presence in my life for decades. We met in our 20s and quickly became fast friends. Mark was always the life of the party, charming, adventurous, and spontaneous. We spent countless nights together, sharing stories over drinks, hiking new trails, and exploring unfamiliar places. He was the kind of friend who could lift your spirits with a joke or rally a group for a last-minute getaway. As the years went by, our paths began to diverge. I found myself drawn to quieter, more reflective moments, enjoying the stillness of a morning walk or the peace of a good book. Mark, however, stayed true to his love for excitement, always chasing the next thrill. I started noticing that our meetups felt different, less about the connection and more about keeping up with his relentless energy. The conversations that used to flow easily now felt rushed, always overshadowed by his tales of the latest adventure or new people he'd met. There was a turning point a few years ago. Mark called me one weekend with a familiar tone of urgency, inviting me to a spontaneous road trip with a bunch of mutual friends. It was the kind of invitation I would have eagerly accepted years ago, but this time I hesitated. I was tired, craving a calm weekend at home, but I didn't want to disappoint him. Torn, I agreed to go. The whole trip, I felt out of sync, longing for a quiet conversation in a cozy cafe rather than loud laughter around a crowded bonfire. It was then that I realized our friendship had changed. I was trying to keep something alive that no longer fit my life. After that trip, I made a conscious choice. I stopped forcing myself to match Mark's pace, and I started saying no to plans that didn't feel right. He noticed, of course, and at first he pushed back, trying to bring me back into his world of excitement. But I remained gentle but firm, explaining that my needs had shifted, that I now cherished slower, simpler things. Gradually, our calls became less frequent, and our hangouts grew further apart. We never had a falling out, just a gradual drift. Today, we still keep in touch, sending occasional holiday cards or sharing quick updates about family and life. I look back on our time together with deep appreciation, not regret. Mark was a friend I needed during a different chapter of my life. He brought joy and adventure when I craved it, but now I've moved into a stage where depth and calm mean more to me. Our friendship may have faded, but its memories are bright, and that's enough for me. I've changed too. With age, my focus has sharpened. I now treasure sincerity, warmth, and genuine kindness. I no longer have the patience for conflict or energy-draining interactions. Recognizing red flags has become second nature, and I've become skilled at drawing healthy boundaries. My time and attention are reserved for those who inspire and uplift, not those who weigh me down. Number 3, trust becomes more complicated. As the years have passed, I've come to realize how easily trust can be shattered. In my youth, I gave my trust freely, without hesitation or second thoughts. Yet, life's unexpected challenges have taught me to be wary. I've experienced betrayal from people I never thought would disappoint me. Friends who vanished when times got tough, partners who broke promises, and even family members who failed me in moments of need. These instances have led me to be more cautious, carefully choosing who I allow into my personal world. These days, trust feels like a balancing act. It's not about completely shutting myself off from others. It's about safeguarding my emotional well-being. I rely more on my intuition now, trusting my inner voice when something feels amiss. I've learned to recognize the signs of unhealthy relationships, and I've become more willing to distance myself from negative influences, even if it means letting go of people who have been part of my life for years. My focus is on keeping my peace and preserving my sense of self. However, it's not all about walls and defenses. Some people have come into my life and proven that genuine kindness still exists. Whether it's a stranger offering an unexpected helping hand, a neighbor who goes out of their way to be thoughtful, or a new friend who shows loyalty without asking for anything in return, I've been reminded that there are still good-hearted individuals out there. These moments rekindle my hope and encourage me to remain open to the possibility of meaningful connections. Then, you may ask yourself how to find someone at this age. Let me share some ideas. 1. Take daily walks in public spaces. Choose parks, community gardens, or local walking paths for your daily strolls. These spots are great for casual encounters with others who are also enjoying the outdoors. A simple smile or friendly greeting can lead to unexpected conversations. 2. Try a new hobby or class. Sign up for a local cooking class, pottery workshop, or dance lesson. Exploring a new hobby is a fun way to meet people who share your interests, and it gives you something in common to talk about from the start. 3. Visit coffee shops and local cafes regularly. Spend time at local coffee shops or cafes where regular visitors gather. Bring a book, do a crossword puzzle, or simply enjoy your surroundings. Becoming a familiar face at a local spot can make it easier to strike up conversations with others. 4. Join a faith-based or spiritual group. If it aligns with your beliefs, consider participating in a church, temple, or meditation group. Many faith communities offer social events, discussion groups, and volunteer opportunities that can connect you with others in a meaningful way. 5. Attend educational talks or book readings. Keep an eye out for events at local libraries, community centers, or bookstores. Lectures, author readings, and discussion groups attract curious, engaged individuals and provide natural topics to discuss with new acquaintances. Now, I approach relationships with a deeper understanding. Trust, for me, is no longer something I give lightly, but it's also not something I withhold out of fear. It's about finding that middle ground, staying true to myself, while remaining receptive to those who show they are deserving. Life has taught me that trust, though delicate, is not impossible to find, and when given wisely, it becomes a foundation upon which the strongest relationships are built. Number 4. Solitude isn't loneliness. In my younger days, I dreaded the thought of being alone. Silence felt heavy, and an empty room seemed to echo with reminders of everything I lacked. Back then, I believed solitude and loneliness were one and the same. The absence of others felt like a void, a stark reminder of my desire for connection. But as the years passed, I discovered something profound. Solitude is not about what is missing. It's about what can be found within. At 70, I've come to treasure the quiet moments that solitude offers. Watching birds glide across the sky, feeling the earth beneath my feet during a peaceful walk, or basking in the warmth of the morning sun fills me with an unspoken joy. These simple experiences have a depth that busy gatherings never could. Solitude has given me the freedom to pause, to sit with my thoughts, and to find beauty in the small, unnoticed details of life. It is in these moments that I feel truly connected, not to others, but to myself. Through solitude, I've gained a deeper understanding of my worth. It has shown me that my value is not tied to the number of invitations I receive or the size of my social circle. Instead, it rests in my ability to embrace who I am, imperfections and all. This journey inward has brought a sense of peace that no external validation could ever replicate. Alone does not mean unloved. It means discovering love within. That doesn't mean I've turned my back on companionship. I still cherish the laughter of my family and the comfort of shared conversations with friends. But I no longer feel the need to fill every moment with others. Solitude has taught me the art of balance, how to say no gracefully and how to honor my need for space without guilt. It has allowed me to approach relationships with a fuller heart, no longer seeking fulfillment from them, but adding to them instead. Now, let's meet my best friend, Mary, and her story about embracing the beauty of solitude. Mary was someone who thrived on connection. Her days were filled with work meetings, community events, and family dinners. Yet, beneath her busy schedule, she often felt a nagging exhaustion, a feeling she couldn't quite put into words. She confided in me one evening, "I don't even know what silence feels like anymore. It's like I'm running, but I don't know where I'm going." Everything shifted for Mary when her children moved out, and her home became unexpectedly quiet. At first, the silence was jarring. She told me how she would keep the television on, even when she wasn't watching, just to fill the space. But gradually, something began to change. One crisp autumn morning, she decided to take her coffee to the garden instead of sitting by the TV. Wrapped in a blanket, she listened to the wind rustling the leaves and watched the sunlight dance on the grass. For the first time in years, she felt still. That morning became a ritual. Each day, Mary spent an hour in her garden, not doing anything, just being present. She started noticing things she had overlooked before. The intricate patterns of spiderwebs, the songs of different birds, the slow, steady rhythm of her breath. "It's funny," she told me later, "but I've learned more about myself in these quiet hours than in all the chaos of my busy life. Solitude isn't empty. It's full. Mary's newfound peace didn't just stay in the garden. It began to ripple through her life. She no longer filled her days out of obligation or fear of being alone. Instead, she became more intentional about the time she spent with others. When she visited friends or her children, she showed up with a lighter heart and a calmer presence. "I feel like I'm not chasing anything anymore," she said. "I'm just here, and that's enough." Mary's story taught me that solitude is not an absence, but an abundance. It's a chance to rediscover the world around you and, more importantly, the world within. When I visit her now, I often find her in the garden, smiling as she watches the sun dip below the horizon. And every time, I'm reminded that the quietest moments can hold the most profound lessons. In solitude, I've found something remarkable. It is not a retreat into isolation, but an embrace of stillness. It is not the absence of connection, but a different kind of presence, one that nurtures the soul. Solitude has enriched my days with clarity, calm, and an appreciation for the life I've built. It isn't loneliness, it's a quiet, steady companionship with myself. Number 5. Why I distance myself. Wisdom at 70. Reaching 70 has given me a perspective I never imagined. Distancing myself from people isn't about anger or lingering wounds. It's about choosing peace. Decades of experiences, giving, learning, enduring pain, have taught me that not all connections are meant to endure. Some relationships teach lessons, others weigh us down. This realization, though bittersweet, has brought me a profound sense of freedom. In my younger years, I poured myself into others. My time, energy, and care were offered without hesitation. I sought approval, hoping to be seen as generous, reliable, and kind. For a time, it felt fulfilling. But life has a way of revealing hard truths. Years of disappointments, friends who vanished, one-sided efforts, unspoken betrayals, showed me the cost of ignoring red flags. Slowly, I learned to draw boundaries, not out of resentment, but out of necessity. Now, in this season of life, I prioritize my well-being. I've let go of toxic relationships, the kind that leave you feeling used or invisible. I avoid those who thrive on chaos, who drain my energy, or who fail to see my worth. Protecting my peace has become my guiding principle. Solitude, once unfamiliar, has become a trusted companion. But solitude doesn't mean isolation. The relationships I still cherish are deep and enduring. The friends who stayed when life got hard, the family members who truly see me. These connections feel sacred, nurtured by mutual respect and genuine care. I no longer feel compelled to maintain countless relationships. A small circle of meaningful bonds is enough to fill my heart. Strangely, pulling back has given me a deeper appreciation for the moments I share with others. When I choose to spend time with someone, it's because I genuinely want to. The conversations are richer, the connections more authentic. There's no weight of obligation, only the joy of shared presence. I often reflect on whether others my age feel this way. Do years of heartbreak and unfulfilled expectations teach us to value peace over popularity? Do we learn, through experience, that guarding our energy isn't selfish but wise? Looking back, I see how much of my life was spent trying to meet everyone's needs. I tried to be everything to everyone, only to lose parts of myself in the process. Today, I no longer apologize for saying no. I no longer feel guilty for stepping away from relationships or situations that don't bring joy. If you're in your later years and find yourself doing the same, know that you're not alone. This isn't selfishness, it's survival. This stage of life isn't about accumulating more. It's about refining what matters. It's about choosing depth over breadth, meaning over noise. Some thrive in lively gatherings, others in quiet reflection. Both paths are valid. For me, stepping back has been transformative. It's taught me the power of release, of letting go of what no longer serves, of finding strength in solitude, and of embracing life on my own terms. In this freedom, I've found an unexpected richness. If you're pulling away from certain relationships, don't see it as loss. See it as clarity. You're creating space for peace, for growth, for authentic connections. Here's to this chapter of life, a time of wisdom, courage, and the grace to live unapologetically. May we all find the peace we deserve. Number 6. A world transformed beyond recognition. At 70, the landscape of life feels utterly transformed from the one I knew. The world I grew up in moved at a slower, more deliberate pace. Days stretched longer, filled with face-to-face conversations and genuine laughter. Neighbors felt like an extended family, familiar faces you could trust. People visited unannounced, lingered over coffee, and shared stories with a sense of ease. Life was centered on close-knit connections, not quick interactions. Today, everything feels rushed, and it's hard not to notice the shift. Technology dominates our interactions, pulling us further apart even as it offers to connect us. I appreciate being able to see loved ones through a screen, yet it's not the same as sitting across from them. There's a barrier there, a digital wall that dulls emotions and filters expressions. The closeness of a face-to-face encounter has been replaced by convenience, and something essential feels lost. The noise of this era is constant. It surrounds us, filling every quiet space with notifications, headlines, and endless distractions. It's a world where everyone is moving, always on to the next task, barely pausing to breathe. I miss the slower pace when there was time to really listen, to truly absorb what others had to say. Today, conversations are often hurried and fragmented, lacking the depth they once held. There's little room for silence, for moments of shared understanding without words. I know that looking back can create illusions of a perfect past, and I try to remember that no era was without its flaws. Yet, there was a warmth and sincerity to those earlier connections that feels increasingly rare. The bonds weren't flawless, but they were tangible and grounded. Now, there's an ache for a kind of togetherness that seems to have slipped away in the rush to keep up with a constantly changing world. I find comfort in moments of stillness, those pockets of quiet that remind me of what's real. A morning walk, the feel of dirt between my fingers in the garden, the sound of wind through the trees. These simple acts anchor me. They reconnect me to a time when presence mattered more than productivity, when life was less about doing and more about being. They are my way of holding on to the steady rhythm of the past, while the world spins faster all around me. Number 7. A new chapter at 70. At 70, life feels like an open book, with blank pages waiting to be written. Each phase of life has brought its own rhythm, lessons to learn, paths to tread, and joys to savor. This chapter isn't about endings, it's about becoming. In youth, ambition drives us to chase what's ahead. With time, that urgency softens. Now, I find beauty in stillness, soft morning light, the sound of a child's laughter, or the warmth of a loved one's hug. These fleeting moments hold the essence of life, grounding me in gratitude. Looking back, my journey is a tapestry of triumphs, missteps, and transformations. Success brought pride, failures taught resilience, and heartbreaks reshaped my soul. Every experience has sculpted the person I am today. But this age is more than reflection, it's about possibility. There's room to grow, create, and savor what brings joy. Whether exploring new passions, tending to a garden, or embracing quiet moments, freedom defines this stage. I no longer strive to prove myself. I simply am. There's power in saying no. No to obligations that drain. No to relationships that don't nurture. By setting boundaries, I've carved out space for what truly matters: peace, love, and connection. Aging brings a unique courage, the courage to live authentically. I honor my well-being, speak my truth, and cherish the life I've built. Strength has carried me through storms. Joy has been my compass through the calm. This chapter isn't a concession to limitations, but a celebration of potential. It's about cherishing the life I've lived while welcoming the unknown. I live fully, deeply, and with purpose, one meaningful moment at a time. At 70, life has revealed its truest gifts. It's not the things we collect, but the experiences we treasure, the laughter, the quiet moments, and the peace we carry within. I've learned to find beauty in simplicity, strength in reflection, and joy in being present. Stepping away from noise isn't avoidance. It's honoring the serenity I've worked hard to create. If you're navigating a similar journey, trust your instincts. This chapter is yours to shape, filled with meaning and authenticity. Thank you for walking this path with me. Your presence matters, and together, we grow stronger in truth. Before you leave, share one insight you've gained and how it will guide your life. Let's keep the dialogue alive. If this resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. The best is yet to come.